Beyond the Ice, Part 5, The Resolution and Emotional Growth. Chapter 9, Sabotage and Decision. The Vyriat forge stood like an ancient titan, its energy pulsing with an eerie brilliance, a dark reminder of the power it held. It was more than a mere structure. It was the heart of the dome, the beating source of technology capable of changing the world, for better or for worse. To Aria, it now symbolized her most agonizing dilemma: to activate the dome and seal Antarctica forever, locking humanity out from a resource that could save the planet, or to risk everything by defying the Vyriat and preserving the fragile peace. Aria's hand trembled as she gazed at the forge, the weight of the Sentinel's ultimatum still heavy in her mind. The thought of sealing Antarctica, the last untouched continent, was unbearable. But so was the thought of plunging humanity into war with the Vyriat. That was where her clarity had come. Sabotage. It was a dangerous gamble, a risky middle ground that could preserve the treaty, keep the possibility of exploration open, and, perhaps, stave off the inevitable war. But the cost was high. It meant abandoning the immediate chance to undo the damage done to the planet's climate, a solution within reach, yet fleeting. The urgency was suffocating, and the unknown consequences of tampering with such immense power only heightened the tension within her. Kale's voice cut through her thoughts, soft, yet carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. "Are you sure about this?" His eyes searched hers, an unreadable emotion flickering within them. Aria took a steadying breath, her voice firm despite the storm raging within her. "It's the only way. We can't risk war. We can't lock Antarctica away forever. This is our only shot at a future." Kale's gaze softened, but the concern in his eyes remained. "And the climate? The world's in chaos. Can we afford to abandon the only chance we have to save it?" Aria's chest tightened, but she squared her shoulders, meeting his gaze head-on. "We'll find another way. We have to." Kyle was silent for a beat, his hand brushing against hers in a rare moment of connection. There was no need for more words. They both knew the gravity of their choice. Together they would face whatever came next. The team sprang into action, each member focused on their task. Lena moved with deadly precision, her fingers working over the alien controls, her breath shallow with the strain of controlling her fear. Ethan, ever the historian, was cataloging every move, his eyes darting between the controls and the rapidly destabilizing forge. Kyle, unwavering in his support, stayed close to Aria, his presence a silent anchor amid the chaos. But time was not on their side. The forge's humming intensified, a low, menacing growl echoing through the chamber. The energy grew more erratic, pulsing violently as the walls of the chamber trembled under the mounting pressure. "We're running out of time." Lena's voice broke through the growing panic, each word sharper than the last. "The system's destabilizing faster than I anticipated." Aria's heart pounded, but she forced herself to stay calm, her mind a whirlwind of calculations and possibilities. "Almost there. We need just a few more seconds." Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet rumbled, the tremor rippling through the chamber like the warning of an impending earthquake. The core of the forge blazed brighter than the sun, and Aria felt a chill of dread course through her veins. "It's going to blow!" Ethan's voice was filled with terror, his eyes wide as the walls around them began to crack. Kale's reaction was immediate, instinctive. He grabbed Aria by the arm, his grip firm as he pulled her toward the nearest exit. "Move! Now!" The team raced through the narrow passages, the forge's core collapsing behind them. The air grew thick with heat, and the walls trembled violently under the pressure of the destabilizing energy. Aria's breath came in ragged gasps, her pulse pounding in her ears. Just as they reached the surface, the forge detonated in a flash of blinding light, the shockwave tearing through the air and throwing them to the ground. Aria gasped, her body bruised from the impact, her ears ringing with the deafening sound of destruction. She struggled to her knees, her eyes instinctively searching for the forge. It was gone. The once mighty energy source had vanished, leaving only the echoes of its collapse in its wake. But even as they caught their breath, the consequences became undeniable. The ice around them groaned, cracking under the pressure of an irreversible shift. The ancient glaciers, once solid and unmoving, began to thaw, the first signs of a new, unpredictable future emerging from the depths of the melting landscape. Lena's voice trembled as she stared at the changing ice, her tone a mixture of awe and fear. "What have we done?" Aria looked out over the ice, her heart heavy with the weight of their decision. "We made a choice, and now we live with it." Kyle stood beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "We'll face it together." The simplicity of his words resonated in the silence that followed, and in that moment, Aria understood the depth of what he had just said. She could feel the strength of the bond between them, a quiet understanding that transcended the chaos of their surroundings. In the face of their shared trials, Kyle had become more than a colleague or a companion. He had become her ally, her anchor in the storm. As the team regrouped, the thawing ice revealed fragments of a hidden world. Ancient ruins, structures long buried under layers of ice and time. It was a bittersweet discovery, a glimpse into the past that carried both wonder and sorrow. They had gained knowledge, yes, but at what cost? Kale's hand tightened on Arya's shoulder, a subtle gesture of solidarity, of something more unspoken between them. For him, the final moments of the confrontation had crystallized his feelings, a protective instinct that ran deeper than duty. He didn't have to say it. She could feel it in every touch, every glance, every action. For Aria, the sabotage had been a test of her values, her sense of purpose, and her emotional growth. The choice to preserve the treaty and avoid war with the Vyriat had been the hardest decision of her life. But in the end, it had been a choice of survival, a choice that honored her bonds with those around her. As they stood together watching the once frozen world slowly transform before them, Aria's heart filled with a quiet hope. The path ahead would not be easy, but whatever came next, they would face it, side by side, together. Epilogue: A New Dawn. The world had changed. Months had passed since the team's fateful decision to sabotage the Vyriat Forge, and though the ice continued to melt and the landscape of Antarctica shifted with undeniable force, humanity's path forward remained uncertain. The treaty had held, the war with the Vyriat was averted, but the consequences of their actions reverberated far beyond the frozen wastelands. Aria stood on the balcony of a new research facility, the first of its kind to be established on the thawed land. The structures hidden beneath the ice had been uncovered, and the team had worked tirelessly to catalog the artifacts, slowly unraveling the secrets of a civilization that had once thrived in this frozen expanse. But despite the marvels they had found, the true significance of their discovery was still unfolding. The world, in all its complexities, had begun to grapple with what was happening. Scientists, environmentalists, and governments had been forced to reconsider their understanding of climate, history, and the delicate balance of power between humanity and the forces they had once thought they controlled. The thawing ice revealed not just remnants of a forgotten world, but warnings, insights into a past that was both a mirror and a cautionary tale for the future. Aria had become a leading voice in these discussions, but it was no longer just her scientific expertise that earned her respect. It was her understanding of the human heart, her ability to see the big picture, to act when the stakes were highest, and to make decisions that, though painful, were rooted in the hope of a better tomorrow. Kale, ever by her side, had found a new purpose. He worked with the teams exploring the thawed land, a guide and protector, but also a man changed. He no longer saw himself only as a soldier, someone bound by duty and necessity. He had become something more, a partner, a builder of futures, not just a preserver of the present. His bond with Aria had grown in ways neither had expected, and their quiet moments together had become as precious as the land they had saved. Lena and Ethan had not been left behind. Lena had become a key player in the global effort to study the newly discovered technologies and histories of the Vyriat. her intellect and wit sharpening in the face of new challenges. Ethan, ever the historian, had taken it upon himself to document not just the findings of their team, but the stories of those who had braved the unknown. He believed, as always, that the true value of discovery was not in what was found, but in how the story was told. The world was not the same as it had been when they first set foot in Antarctica. The thawing ice was a symbol, both of progress and the delicate balance that now hung between them and the future. No one knew exactly what would come next, but there was one certainty. Humanity was no longer alone in its search for answers. The Vyriat might have gone quiet for now, but their ancient knowledge, their warnings, and their technology would continue to shape the world in ways no one could predict. For Aria, the journey had been as much about self-discovery as it had been about saving the planet. She had come to terms with the complexities of leadership, the weight of sacrifice, and the profound impact of the choices she had made. She had learned to embrace not just the answers she sought, but the questions that would lead her forward. As she stood on the balcony, looking out at the horizon where the land met the sky, Aria felt the weight of the world lift just slightly. The future was still uncertain, but she no longer faced it with fear or doubt. She faced it with hope. Hope that the lessons learned in the frozen silence of Antarctica would echo across the world. And most importantly, hope that the journey they had started together would never truly end. The thawing of the ice was only the beginning. And whatever came next, Aria knew they would face it together, one step at a time.